Jana, thanks. Now to Springfield, where the candidates for public school superintendent are in the interview stage. With the goal of making a final choice by the end of the month, we wanted to gain more insight on selecting a school district's next leader.
Western Mass News reporter Olivia Hickey is live after getting answers from the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents. Olivia?
Chris and Abby, in my conversation with Executive Director Thomas Scott, I learned there is a lot that goes into filling the seat. The search for a new superintendent continues in Springfield. Daniel Warwick will be stepping down at the end of the school year after serving the district for nearly 50 years. On Thursday, the superintendent search screening committee began the process of interviewing candidates in executive session.
When you've had a superintendent who, like Superintendent Warwick, who's been around the district for so long and who's been in the position for so long, that's got its own unique challenges. It's hard to follow somebody who's been in a position for a long time and who is as widely respected as he is.
It's a process Tom Scott, who heads up the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, has been through and sees often.
We have 275 superintendents in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we turn over around 50 superintendents each year. So searches are a pretty common thing to be happening.
Just because it happens often doesn't make it easy. He tells Western Mass News finding a qualified candidate to lead a district isn't simple. The process usually takes months and involves community input, which can vary from parents to city or town officials to teachers and administrators. Scott notes fewer candidates is an added challenge for many districts.
Well, the reason I think you're seeing more interim superintendent positions is because the pool is so limited these days. If you get 25 candidates, you're doing a great job of recruiting candidates, because generally we see something that's more in the single numbers or, in the teens in terms of candidates for positions.
Which is why districts should take steps to make the application process more appealing. One way is offering confidentiality in the initial stages of the interview process. Scott explains it can attract many qualified applicants.
If you're a sitting superintendent in a district and you're interested in applying to another district, confidentiality is really important at the initial stages of this process. I may take a greater risk by going into the process if it's confidential, an executive session where I can have an interaction with a screening group that allows me to learn more about you and you learn more about me and see if there's a good fit.
The screening committee is expected to recommend 3 to 5 finalists to the full school committee next week. Reporting in studio for Western Mass News, I'm Olivia Hickey.